Hey, everybody, Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast. And as per usual, I'm going to kick the ball over to Randall John and I in just a few minutes here for some mostly video game chit-chat this week. We start out with a little Three Stooges and Marx Brothers chit-chat, and somehow we managed to transition that into mostly all video game chit-chat from there. It's a little bit of a collage-type episode, although it's kind of two bigger chunks of conversation. We lean a little bit Metroid heavy towards the end, talk a little bit about that most recent Nintendo Direct, which is a few months old, or at least about a month, a little over a month old at this point, maybe even a little longer, but yeah, really, really fun Save It for the Cast coming up here. But also, as per usual, I have to talk about some of the stuff that I've been playing as well, although I think I'm going to keep this intro on the short and sweet side because most of the stuff that I've been doing as of late has been some multiplayer sessions. I've been still doing a bunch of Mario Kart 8 and getting my ass kicked by all my friends back home here in Michigan. I keep trying to swap out new characters. Still loving these new courses, which we'll actually be talking a little bit about that from the Nintendo Direct here, and like when they announced the new tracks and whatnot. I think they announced that during the most recent Nintendo Direct, but now we've actually had the chance to play them. We've actually already recorded an episode where we talked about it, so I think that comes out next week, if not the following proper episode. But either way, yeah, I've been doing mostly some multiplayer sessions between Mario Kart and then doing some Overwatch 2 as well, which we'll be talking about on a future episode as well. I think on that same episode, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, sooner than later, we'll be talking about some multiplayer stuff that we've all been doing. But the little bit of solo gaming that I've been doing lately has been mostly on the Switch, and actually just back to some of that Nintendo Direct. I think they announced that they were bringing a couple new Game Boy games, or maybe that was when they announced the Game Boy games were being added. I think it was. So yeah, they've already added a few new ones, and I started playing after watching John play through the entirety of Kirby's Dream Land on my most recent visit to Chicago. I was like, you know what? They just added Kirby's Dream Land 2 in this second kind of smaller batch, and having never really played it, I do own it on the Game Boy, but I've only just kind of popped it in. I bought it later on in my collecting years, and just kind of like, oh yeah, it's an old Game Boy Kirby game, and I had played a little bit more of the first one, so I kind of forgot that Kirby's Dream Land 2 was where they did kind of introduce the copy ability, like where you can swallow enemies and steal their abilities and get their power-ups and whatever. And then they added a few new features as well. And not only that, the game just gets much, much more expansive, I guess. Like I beat like 5 worlds or 4 worlds maybe, and it said I was only like 35% of the way through the game. I think 4 worlds because I was just starting the 5th zone. I was thinking like, okay, this game's about to wrap up here. And my initial Kirby introduction to the series or whatever was on the NES with Kirby's Adventure, which now looking back and actually having recently played some Super Mario Brothers 3, which I will also be talking about on a future episode of the podcast. Actually, I might have already talked about that on the podcast, but regardless, I actually kind of refreshed my memory with some Mario 3, and God, I feel like that's all I've been saying this episode on a previous episode of the podcast. But anyways, without question, after playing some Super Mario Brothers 3 recently, Kirby's Adventure is without a doubt my favorite game on the NES. And I mean, it's easy to tell that it's a very late era NES game, so it's pushing the boundaries in every regard. And, the slowdown, you pay the price a little bit here and there, but it was really cool playing some Kirby's Dream Land 2 on the Game Boy and really seeing where a lot of these kind of mechanics were introduced, or even just like new enemies and just kind of the core structure of like how you kind of land in like each level is like a kind of like a world, if you will. I think they call them levels in the game, but it's kind of like a world with 4 different stages, or 3 or 4, maybe even 5 stages. I think this 5th zone that I'm on has 5 stages and then a boss battle, and the boss battles are really fun. It's a little bit tougher than Kirby's Adventure in some of the more recent Kirby games. Like, it's not by any means like a a precision platformer or anything particularly difficult, but I feel like there are more instances where you're like prone to fall down a pit by mistake, or even though you have the ability to pretty much fly at will as long as you don't have like an enemy in your mouth and haven't swallowed them yet, like you can pretty much just fly at will. But I still I'm falling on some bottomless pits, I'm dying to some bosses here and there, but it's still like a pretty forgiving difficulty, and the save states make things a little bit easier. Although the most recent time I actually just cleared the 5th world. I beat I was on the final boss of that zone, and it was actually the Sun and Moon. So I was like, okay, cool. This is where they brought these characters into the Kirby series. for this boss battle or whatever, which I remember from Kirby's Adventure. And the Game Boy like app or whatever on Switch just crashed on me, and then it was just like, okay, I was thinking like, okay, well, it probably saved, my after beating the last level before the boss, but it looks like it only saves actually when you like clear the world. Maybe I'm actually not even 100% sure because I previously did a save state after I just stopped playing on my first session with the game, so this was my second time picking it up. So I probably will go back to it, although I did like fire it right back up and I was about to start up and I was like, oh man, back to stage one. And not that they're, like I was just saying, they're not that challenging or anything. It's nothing that crazy to have to replay, and they're really fun at that. It's really cool also to see like having only more recently, thanks to John, kind of dipped into Kirby's Dream Land 3, also on the Nintendo Switch Online when they added that on the Super Nintendo. It's kind of cool to see the introduction of like your helper, like buddy, giant, the owl and the big hamster. I know they all have names, but I'm drawing a blank on them at the moment. But it's really cool, even though some of them, I feel like when certain abilities, like power-ups that you have combined, some of them are amazing, but some of them, like if you have the umbrella with the hamster, it's like, oh, this is like kind of like the angle that Kirby like hops up on top of the umbrella, like that you attack at, is just like kind of awkward to actually hit enemies at. But for the most part, I don't really have any gripes, and it's a huge step up. Nothing against Kirby's Dream Land, but that just feels like, okay, this is a early Game Boy game, where Kirby's Dream Land 2 really feels like it's packing a punch. And then the other game that I was just going to give not necessarily a shout out to because I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it yet. I ran up to that Retro Taku store that Randall and I talked about recently on the podcast when we did some retro hunting. There I go again, recently on the podcast. But I went up to one of their locations again, and I was just browsing around, and they had a copy of Everybody's Golf on PlayStation 4 for $10, and I was like, you know what? And that's like the Hot Shots Golf series. I think it's always been called Everybody Golfs or Everybody's Golf in Japan, if I'm not mistaken. I could be speaking out of turn there, but once they brought it to PS4 and possibly even on PS3, they brought that branding Everybody's Golf into the mix. And I fired it up, and I've played probably an hour or two at this point, and so far I am pretty aggravated. It's definitely a little bit better mechanically. It feels more similar to, I guess, obviously the Hot Shots Golf games, but similar to the older Mario Golf games that I'm just such a huge fan of. But at the same time, it's very clear to see that Mario Golf Super Rush was maybe inspired by this entry, and I don't know if they've done stuff like this in previous entries in the series, because I think the last one I played was like one of the first Hot Shots Golf 4 maybe on PS3. Whatever the first one was on there, I picked up and only played a little bit of it. But this one here, it kind of like dumps you into like a create a character mode, and then you just have to like, which you can just kind of breeze through that if you want to. I just kind of kept the default skin for the most part, and you can change it later if you want. But then it's like, you can kind of only play this, like the back 9 on this one course, like many times over. Like you got to play like 2 tournaments and then unlock versus challenge where you play against other characters, just like you would in Mario Golf, like where you just play against DK or, these are just like random people or whatever. Or, I'm not playing online, although there is an online mode as well. But yeah, I started playing a little bit of this, and it is seeming like it's going to be a huge slog of a grind. Like I just unlocked the front 9 of the course that like the opening course or whatever. So I was thinking like, oh, cool, I'm going to just like get this game. Maybe there'll be like, 8 or 10 courses. It looks like there's only going to be 4 courses with 18 holes. And then there's a bunch of DLC courses. I don't know how much those cost, but a little bit disappointed. I mean, I'm not totally bummed since it was only $10 and supporting a small, local used game shop. So I'm not too mad about it. And actually they sell new games there too, but local game shop around here in Michigan. So I'm not mad about picking it up or anything, but at the same time, I'm like, I was really hoping this was going to fill that Mario Golf Super Rush void that I've been feeling ever since that came out. And it is most certainly not going to do that. Although after it's getting late here, but before bed, I'm like, you know what? I think I might actually fire up a few more rounds, play that front 9, which I still haven't played just yet. But it is a great looking game. It's just a little bit like distracting. Like you kind of can like, you don't have to do it, but you can like run around after your shot and go chase down your ball. Maybe when you play online, it works more that way. But like all the other characters when you're playing in a tournament are also running around. But then when you start your swing, everything freezes, and it's just kind of like just visually busy for no real reason. It's like a little bit better when you're playing the versus mode because you're just taking turns, but you do have to watch all the computer shots. You can skip it after they kind of like, have made contact with the ball essentially. And you can do that with your own shots as well, but there's no like fast forward button, which would be nice because I don't necessarily want to skip the whole like arc of the shot. I want to see how it flies through the air. I don't just want to see where it ends up or the last like split second of the, rolling on the green or on the fairway or whatever. But it was like pretty easy to get used to the putting. Like I sunk a pretty long putt right off the bat, but it kind of just forces you through the motions and the tutorial and just a ton of opening dialogue. Like it really was a slog. And, I wanted to just kind of pop this in and, okay, let's play 18 holes or let's check out some of these cool courses. So I'm a little bit annoyed. Like I was looking up, is there any like secret code I can type in or something? But it looks like I just got to grind a little bit. But, I dug out my PS4 out of the garage. And of course I was having issues with that. I had to I think the laser is just like, because I popped in a couple different discs and it just wasn't reading them. So I was like, and then I kind of just old school, computer monitor. I just started smacking it on the side a little bit lightly, but just gave it like a little tap on the side and little jiggle here and there. And then it read it after many, many attempts. I got to put the disc in just right. So I'm a little bit nervous about, granted, I haven't booted up my PS4 in God knows how long before this. So I'm not all that worried about it or upset about it. But at the same time, I don't want my PS4 to be out of commission because my PS3 is also out of commission because that would just be, just a huge bummer. I've got a ton of games on physical copies on both of those consoles and am unable to play any of them at the moment, or I guess not necessarily any of them because I am able to kind of, will my PS4 into commission, but we'll see how long that lasts. But yeah, I think I've done enough rambling here at this point. Like I said, I thought I was going to keep it short and sweet. I think this is, somewhere on the in-between side as far as these intros go. But yeah, I think I'll leave it there for the rambling and babbling. And sorry for the a little bit of hoarse in my throat here as I get ready for bed. But until next week, we will catch you then and take care. I grew up on Three Stooges. It's so dumb. Watching it now, I'm just it's I can appreciate a couple things here and there, but I'm just I don't know how they made. They're basically just let's just do the same thing in as many different possible scenarios as possible. How can we make these guys beat the shit out of each other in as many different scenarios as possible?
See, turns out there's a lot of scenarios.
Yeah. Oh, they're plumbers. Oh, anything. Yeah. As long as Mo can hit people with a wrench.
Start beating the shit out of these other two guys. Yeah.
See, but I watched a lot of Marx Brothers.
Yeah.
They're definitely a cut above. I've only seen a tiny bit, but they have a little more Charlie Chaplin artistry to them. As opposed to and the Stooges do too in their own way, but
when the Marx Brothers would go so seamlessly from the dumbest jokes to really good wordplay to then physical comedy music performance, I'm just
sure.
Jesus Christ, these guys are so good.
Pretty sure I watched both of those, and my grandparents had a couple of 50 episode VHS compilation, whatever. That's how I watched both of those in small spurts anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, the Stooges had an NES game. That's all I gotta say.
They did.
I think you own that game, Randall, because I'm pretty sure I've seen that on your shelf.
yes, or at least it was. It probably still is.
I can't remember if that was a Game Grumps or an angry video game nerd. I was one of those that genre of YouTuber.
Dude,
that's the only way.
The way that I used to live for angry video game nerd videos when I was high schooler or whatever. Oh man.
Proton John was mine for that's how I got my introduction to Kaizo's Super Mario World. It was
okay.
People are making different levels, custom levels in Mario World.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
God. Oh, it was a different world.
Oh, big time different world.
Speaking of the Kaizo levels on the Game Boy Advance, Switch Online stuff, I was telling John they added Mario 3, Advance or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a little bit of a bummer that that's one of the games they picked that's already on the NES. It's just of all the Game Boy Advance games they picked this port or whatever. But
Are you talking about Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Brothers 3?
Yes, he is.
Yes, I am indeed. And on top of that, it comes with all the e-reader levels that you had to have those cards for. So there's it said there's 34 new levels. So I went and played a couple of them real quick, and I was like, oh, these are fucking Kaizo Mario levels. They were really tough.
Okay.
I'm sure they're not on that level of tough, but even the first one I picked just at random, I was like, damn.
More Lost
these
levels
are not
bullshit.
joking around.
Yeah. Nah,
yeah.
I'm good.
They were a little more fair than Lost, because Lost levels just feels like it's
garbage.
random trial and error almost.
Yes, it is.
Run it, just keep jumping until you hit that
Find
one
the
invisible block
blocks.
that you have to hit. That's just wait till I start talking about Wario Land. Okay. Just wait.
So
I'm loving it, by the way, but oh my God, this game.
A thing that I didn't think about until this exact moment that now I want more than anything on the Nintendo Switch Online Game Boy is Kirby Tilt and Tumble with gyro controls.
Yo.
You want good news? That was one of the games that they scrolled when they were and more games coming soon. That game was one of the games that scrolled. And they had both of the Zelda Oracle games and Tilt and Tumble were the three that I saw scrolling across. I might be misremembering that, but I remember thinking, ooh, Tilt and Tumble. I don't have that one.
Oh my God.
I
they
could
would
be
have
mixing
to do
that
gyro for that, wouldn't they? They would have to.
I think they would have to.
Yeah.
They would have to. They've done a pretty good job about implementing
has
other
any
stuff,
controls other than.
I mean, they could emulate map on an analog stick if they wanted to be gross about it, or shoulder buttons to control.
But if you're doing it at that point, why?
Why even put it on?
If you're emulating
different
controls, why not emulate the literal thing that it can do?
Yeah,
right.
And I will say they've done a pretty good job about that kind of it had weird instructions. John was looking can we play 4-player Mario Kart
locally
advanced circuit or whatever, but you have to do it online. But it gives you instructions on you got to go into the link play.
Each
and this
person
and this
needs
and this.
to log on separately and then do a local linked play, which is a
little tedious and confusing, but
I get it because
Super
there's
Circuit's
no
a cool game too.
Yeah, it's a great game. I've loved every track that they put onto
Mario Kart
the new
8
one.
Deluxe.
Yeah.
they just announced that new batch is coming in a few days. I'm pretty excited because every time they add new tracks when I'm playing with my buddies back home here in Michigan,
you have a little bit more of a chance.
I have a fighting chance. Yes. And especially if they're Mario Kart Wii tracks, because I just played that game a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Although I will say I thought that the other day and I was picking some Mario Kart Wii tracks to try to give myself a chance. We just played the other night. Oh man, still last of all the human players once again. Although I'm not getting beat by computer players anymore. I'm definitely bottom of the human pack. But even they had my buddy Tommy not this last time, but the previous time, and they kind of were oh, Tommy sucks, man. When he comes, you'll be able to beat his ass, and he just smoked me. He ended up getting disconnected and losing his points, so I ended up ahead of him. But
there you go.
he would have beaten me. So I was like, man, I can't even beat Tommy, because back in the day we would, he was always the one coming up the rear in most games. It was oh God, I'm slacking, man. But they just hit every shortcut, man. Every shortcut. You can't miss.
Oh, see, yeah, that's
if you have I think I've said this before, but if you have a mushroom and you are not using it to cut through the grass, that you're losing time. That they could be smoking you. Have to use them for the times or where there's there's a ramp off in the grass. You have to save your mushroom for that.
Didn't Mikey casually drop the fact that every time he plays Mario Kart 8, he's just playing time trials against ghosts? And
I don't remember that. I don't think I caught
I was that's why Mikey wins every time we play Mario Kart 8.
Just getting his reps in.
Yes.
Yeah, for real. Because my friends just fucking mop the floor with me. I mean, I don't think I won one race out of. We played 32 races. I didn't win one, man.
Wow.
I mean, I did okay. It came in second, third here and there, but I don't think I won a single race. I'm trying to switch up my characters. I'm playing as Wario now. I was I'm playing Wario Land. I'm on a Wario kick.
Yeah.
And the big characters are the way to go.
The speed, the top speed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those new tracks are good. I like
they
those
really
new
are.
tracks.
And I saw everybody was like gushing today because they like, I guess, showed a couple screenshots or something, or maybe they had a little trailer for the new tracks. But like people were saying, well, you know how when they first started doing the DLCs, everyone's like, there's not enough detail in the grass and
fuck off with
whatever.
that.
Like, now everyone's like, these new ones look almost as detailed as the base game. And so everybody's hyped about like Waluigi Stadium looks all great, apparently.
Oh,
Waluigi Stadium got added. There's 8 new tracks, including one like new track. I forget that there's like new track. Like it's a Yoshi's Island themed track, which seems really cool. Yeah, I don't know. I'm so happy that Mario Kart is just a service, or whatever you want to call it, for now.
Yeah.
They really need, if they ever make another one, they need to do it kind of how they did Smash Brothers this time, and just like everything that's ever been in a Mario Party or a Mario Kart ever, every track, boom,
Mario
and
Kart
done.
Ultimate.
If they do another one, yeah, exactly. That would actually be awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, just do it like by the platform, like Mario Kart Switch, Mario Kart Switch Pro, and then like
this Double Dash.
I mean, we kind of got into it on Splatoon 3, but I was like, yep, same game. Still good.
Yep.
Right.
Wish I didn't have to buy it.
I wish it was just Splatoon update or whatever, you know. Season 3 as opposed to
basically the same engine.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so how do we want to hash out or order out this episode here? We got Metroid Prime, Metroid Zero Mission, and then the single player Switch retro stuff, which will just be Mario Party, Mario and Luigi, Wario Land 3, and any other various stuff we've been playing. I've been playing a little Game & Watch.
Mr. Game & Watch.
Which is oddly addictive.
Yeah.
Jiggly Donkey Link. Captain Lou Mario. Good God. Why do I remember all of the stupid things we would do as teens?
Speaking of another random thing combined with the Nintendo, that Nintendo Direct got me freaking pumped, man. They're just like right out the gate. They're like, you haven't watched it yet either?
No.
Oh, right out the gate, they just open up with Pikmin 4 getting announced. So it's just like, oh shit, that's sweet.
More than a logo or just logo? What are we talking?
Oh no, they showed a bunch of gameplay, new captain, new characters. So they just like bust out with that out of nowhere. Then they're like, Advance Wars is finally getting a release date in a couple months. So they bust out with that. Then they showed off like this like prequel kind of like spin-off Bayonetta game. It's like a Bayonetta it looks amazing. That was actually the coolest game of the whole Nintendo Direct, in my personal opinion. Like it's got this like watercolor Okami kind of art style, but very, very much its own art style. It's like Bayonetta Origins, Cervasi, I don't know, something, whatever the character's name is, maybe.
Is it still like third person action game?
Kind of, but more like puzzly. It kind of looks similar to that game. What was that game from the Ico and Shadow of the Colossus?
Guardian?
The game The Last Guardian. It's got that kind of similar mechanic, but more like puzzly. Like you got to use your I don't think you can attack at all with your character. You have to like kind of like use your like familiar, or whatever. It looks awesome. The art style looks amazing. The gameplay looked cool. Like that game caught me completely by surprise. But shoot, that got me sidetracked to what I was actually going to bring up. Oh, yeah, because when we were at one of the disc replays, I think it was, Randall, when I had mentioned like, oh, man, I want to eventually get Ghost Trick one day on DS. And then we saw it at one of the stores. It was like $140 or something. And I was like, well, guess I'm never getting Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. And then they're like, oh, it's coming to Switch. Like they announced that they're porting it to Switch. So I was like, man, this is like way too serendipitous.
So they must be just doing a Switch version because there's no DS.
Yeah, it's just a Switch version of the game. Yeah,
like how they did The World Ends With You. Like that's still weird to me.
It is
like,
weird.
Neo
World Ends With You. Yeah, whatever.
Well, they made the sequel too.
Right.
So
I forgot about that. Yeah,
I've only played the first.
Oh, and I got another game in the mail, Randall, today, randomly from Amazon. This is a game that I got for Christmas, and I don't know if I ever mentioned it, but I got the European version, so I've been like do I want to replace it? Do I just open the European version, or do I order the American version and return the European one or whatever down the road? But I got that Wonder Boy 4 Asha and Wonderland Wonderworld remake. I saw that it was published by In Games or whatever. Yeah. And it has like that kind of cell shaded, kind of cool, but kind of ugly art style. Yep. But it has the original game included with it too. So I was like, I love the original art style. So I was I bought like the version that they put on like PS3 or whatever, like digitally years and years ago. But I was like, hey, if In has a hand in this in some way, shape, or form, I asked for it for Christmas, but
so far.
Exactly. Honestly. I know it's not on the level of like, it's not the same style of remake that Wild Guns or Pocky and Rocky or any of those or Ninja Saviors got. But still, I was like, I'll ask for this for Christmas. So I finally got game,
like a really good.
Yeah, I love the Genesis art style.
More actiony, platformy Metroidvania of the time. Kind of thing.
And those Wonder Boy games have like just a slight, I don't know about this one, but have like a slightly more like laid back nature to them. Like the boss battles can be tough at times, but like it's kind of, you're just like exploring and getting new power ups and just wandering
Turn your
around
brain off
and,
a little bit. It's nice.
Just really pleasant. And, just cool games.
I like those games a lot.
Yeah, and originally Wonder Boy 4 never came to North America before they kind of did these modern ports, right? If I'm not mistaken, like I think it was because I remember them making a big deal about translating it.
Monster Boy.
It might be Monster. It might be Monster World 4.
Yeah, Monster
Asha
World 4.
Wonderland or something.
It was only Japan and maybe Europe.
I think it might have been Europe actually. Now I'm thinking maybe there is a just PAL version that's translated.
Maybe. But nothing for North America. Yeah.
Yeah, either way, I was a little bit torn because there is a Monster Boy or Wonder Boy collection that has like the first 4 games in the series, but doesn't have like this remake update. And I was like, you know what? I do like the other games in the series, but I really, this is the one that I kind of don't own and kind of want to have, and it's in so.
Because you still have your Genesis Monster World otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of
version. It's almost the best version, but there's also that version on Turbo CD or whatever, that Dynastic Hero, which is really cool. I only knew about that because of the Virtual Console. But I went back to one of the disc replays. They had a Turbo graphics there for $200.
No shit.
Like, oh, fuck, man. I might have to buy that. But
that's actually kind of reasonable.
I thought the same thing. I was like, that's not terrible. But I know Analog's coming out with that Turbo thing soon. So, or, in the nearest
best
future.
Believe I'm gonna get me one of those during that 7-minute window.
Yeah, almost as big of a window as Metroid Prime Remastered first batch.
Honestly,
baby.
Yes.
Oh man, too funny. But what order do we want to do this in here? I'm thinking we might want to save the Metroid stuff for the end, but it could lead with it too.
Either works.
What was the other thing besides the Metroid stuff?
We got Metroid Prime Remastered, Metroid Prime Zero Mission, Metroid 2 on Game Boy, and then Wario Land 3, kind of just like the Switch Online stuff. Mario and Luigi, Superstar Saga.
Oh, man.
Do you want to open with the Nintendo Switch Online stuff and then just go devolve into a Metroid amalgamation?
Yeah.
That kind of works for me. If that works for you guys, that's cool with me.
Yes, let's do it.
Fucking feeling I get like when that like menu screen came up and it was just crystal clear.
Yeah.
Like oh my god. I've that opening theme is one of my favorites of all time. Like in addition
it's kind of got those Into the Breach vibes in the music. Like it's got a similar flavor to that sort of.
Oh man. It's just,
was that Retro Studios like first game too? Isn't it something like
I think so,
abandoned because they were making a like fantasy RPG. I think Raven Blade was going to be a GameCube title, and then they like abandoned that to put all of their effort into the Prime series.
They've been making banger after banger, that's for sure. Because on top of the Prime series, they got the Donkey Kong Country games too, and they're just like, we make the best games that Nintendo's put out.
Yep,
that just on the highest quality. Really,
and then Nintendo gave 4 to some other studio. I don't want to throw anyone else under the bus, but then they stopped and then said, "No,
forgot about that.
We're giving
They
it
were
back
like,
to
nope.
retro."
Like, give it to retro.
What were we thinking? What were we thinking? Have you
they
played those last Donkey Kong Country games? It's like, come on.
They're quite good.
Yeah. Retro,
They're
really,
quite
they have
good.
not missed the mark ever, you know? I'll tell you what.
Hopefully they haven't had too much turnover in their company since those GameCube games. I'm sure they have, though.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 20 years.
Yeah.
God.
I hope if they do release Echoes, it better have a freaking foil, shiny, holographic cover.
If
it doesn't,
sweet.
if it doesn't, I'm never buying a Nintendo game again.
Yeah,
I know.
Man,
I thought
seriously,
about
that
buying
cover-
that, like just because of the foil. I'm like, do I want to buy this? Even though like I could play this, on Wii, or I could play this someplace else. Like I kind of want to buy this.
Okay,
I'm
if we're
pretty sure
talking
I got it in
about
my collection,
like atmosphere, and like Prime 1 is really cool and like really creates an atmosphere, but like Prime 2 is just fucking unparalleled. Like
does Prime 2 start out with like some pretty intense battles right off the bat, like kind of with some like a bunch of like minion type enemies, like kind of ghostly?
Yeah, it has.
I think I played a little bit of that. I think I just like, I bought it, popped it in for a minute. I remember it like being like, whoa, this is intense. Like almost like this feels like it's picking up where like Prime left off almost.
I mean, 2 is oppressive, like overall.
It felt that way. Yeah,
the whole light world, dark world, and where the dark world constantly damages you if you're not in a beacon or in a safe zone, and like every successive like suit upgrade just slows the rate at which you get damaged.
That's cool,
like until the end of the game when it like actually stops, but it's still like you are just constantly taking damage in the dark.
It's very
sick. That's like
Nintendo.
That's
so
like you're
good.
Constantly like drowning, like running out of air.
Yes.
All times. That's crazy.
It's such a good 2 I think is the better game overall, but like 1 is like so good that like it like just to say that like it was like 2's the better game. It's like but 1 is fucking incredible.
Yeah, it's like without the groundwork of 1, 2 could have never existed,
Right.
And like 2 also has like ammo management for the light and dark beams, which is a little weird, and like but it incentivizes you. If you kill an enemy with the light beam, it gives you dark ammo, and if you kill the with dark beam, it gives you light ammo.
Hell yeah,
a little Ikaruga action.
shit.
That's cool. Yeah,
It's so good. God, it's such a fucking.
Man, they gotta remake those.
I just remember them like at the time comparing it to like Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, where like this character, like the evil character, is like chasing you everywhere, and there's no relenting. Like I remember that being how they sold it anyway. Like
but that was way more fusion than 2. Like
honestly,
2, fusion is way more like haunting and like hunted, whereas like 2 is more just like. It sucks to be like in the dark world. It's like you just like
swim in the
it.
oppression.
Every like it really does
discomfort.
feel like every time you go to the light world, like you realizing that you are exhaling for the first time. Like
that's a cool
shit,
man. And like again, the design of that. Okay,
you guys got me hyped up for Prime. I'm definitely getting that Prime remastered.
It's so good, Kevin.
I saw it was available that you could buy it online at Best Buy today again. Physically.
Geez, don't wait. Yeah,
and I was like, I'm gonna wait till it's back and like just buy it in person so I can grab it.
A thing that I think I may have mentioned this before, but like there's the reveal of, and I don't know if this is a spoiler, if it's anything.
For me, I don't mind, but I don't want to speak for Randall.
Okay.
For 2, like, so there's the Luminoth and the Ing, and the Luminoth live in light aether, and the Ing live in dark aether, and they're like parallel worlds that don't like exist in each other. And so like the Ing are the bad force of aliens, and they're like trying to take over and make aether all the dark aether instead of the light. Anyway, all of this to say the Ing are like these tripedal, like really grotesque looking, like enemies than like terrifying and like really like bestial or whatever. And like the Luminoth look like they're bipedal, like giant aliens that are like peaceful, and they're like, oh yeah, like this is where all the culture is, and like the Ing are like the barbarian race, and the when you go to the light world, but every area you go to the light world first, and then you go to like the dark world version after you get to that new area. Yeah. And the first time you go to the Ing Hive, and it's even called like just it being called the Ing Hive as opposed to like the Sanctuary, which is what the Luminoth is. Like you go to the Ing Hive, and it is the most gorgeous, technically advanced like area in the entire fucking game.
I love that.
Like it just looks like Tron with like the highest level of technology that you've ever seen in anything. And I'm like, just completely like subverts your expectation of what you think this like where the like home base of like the bad race is gonna. It's so good.
I love that.
The first time I got to the Ing Hive, I'm like, this is gorgeous. What the fuck?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a good game. What a
just like throw that upside down. Like, nah.
Yeah.
This is not the oppression you expected. Not all a bunch of dummies down here.
No, we just look fucking terrifying, and we're also the best.
On purpose, motherfucker.
Oh.
Yeah, just trying to keep you out of here. Trying to keep you away.
Oh.
Get out of here, Samus. No, I definitely, my itch is scratched. And I feel like playing something different, you know? Like, I play so many, like, games in a similar vein. Like, every now and then it's like, if something's, like, I don't play many first-person shooters, so if there is one on the market that's like, oh, like, even when BioShock Infinite came out, I was like, that rail thing looks fun. It's something different. Like, just let me play that just so I can get into a first-person shooter. It's like, I just don't play them. So it's even when I play a mediocre one, it's like, granted, I usually play the good ones because I'm like, okay, this is one I can't miss.
Right.
But they always kind of scratch a different itch.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, I'm going to stop recording.
Where's my mouse? That's the mouse to my work computer. That's not the mouse. 1638.
Oh, we are all
we are
here, baby. Yeah. No notes needed.
Right, real quick. I did kick my like this thing in last recording, like while I was talking. So just in case you hear it.
Okay, no worries. Thanks for the heads up though, because sometimes like, where is that coming from? Where's that sound? But cool. All right, here we go.